It started on a night when the sky looked like it had swallowed all the light in the world. The city glowed beneath the darkness. But inside Ethan Carter's small apartment, everything felt heavier than the storm clouds gathering over Manhattan. He had just returned home after a double shift at the auto shop, and the exhaustion on his shoulders felt permanent, like a weight he could never put down. His 5-year-old daughter, Lily, slept curled on the couch because the old heater broke again, and the warmest spot in the apartment was right under the drafty living room window. Ethan pulled a blanket over her tiny body, whispering an apology she would never hear. He had promised her a better life last Christmas. But life, as he learned, didn't care about promises. If you're watching this and believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of unexpected miracles, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more heart-touching stories. That night, Ethan felt so tired he could barely stand. But fate tends to find people exactly when they are on the edge of giving up. And that's how, 10 stories above the city, in a penthouse that looked like a palace of glass and gold, another life was unraveling. Her name was Olivia Graves, billionaire, CEO of Graves Tech, daughter of America's most intimidating business moguls. Yet for all the privilege, her heart felt like it lived inside a cage. She stood in front of the giant windows, arms crossed tightly over her chest, her red crop top and black leggings still clinging to her from her rushed workout. Her best friend's voice echoed from the phone speaker, sharp, amused, and pitying all at once. Just tell your parents the truth, Liv, that you don't date, that you're busy. Busy. Yes, that was the polite word. The real one was lonely. Her parents had invited her, demanded she return home to introduce the man she was supposedly dating. A lie she had told during an argument months ago. She had panicked then. And she was panicking now because they expect her to bring someone respectable, presentable, and absolutely real. And she had no one. Olivia wasn't afraid of business negotiations, stock crashes, hostile takeovers, but she was terrified of disappointing the two people who still believed she could have a normal life. She'd built an empire, but she couldn't build love. That night, her frustration made her step out of her own comfort zone. She left the penthouse and drove her car down to her company's under-construction charity center, a late-night visit meant to distract her mind. She thought maybe walking through the half-finished family help facility would make her feel less like a failure. Instead, she found Ethan. He was there fixing a generator, one last contract job he'd reluctantly accepted because the extra pay meant he could buy Lily a real bed. He didn't know the stunning woman who suddenly appeared behind him was the billionaire who owned the entire building. All he noticed was her worried expression, her hair tied back in a high ponytail, and the quiet sadness in her eyes. When she introduced herself, he nearly dropped his wrench. Olivia Graves wasn't just a billionaire, she was practically royalty in the business world. Ethan wasn't used to being in the same room as someone like her, yet she looked strangely approachable in her red top and gym leggings. No sign of the usual high society arrogance. She watched him work, the quiet hum of the generator filling the empty building. To her, he looked steady, grounded, and real, everything her life wasn't. And when he spoke about wanting to make life better for his daughter, something inside her softened. Over the next few minutes, they talked more than strangers should. Ethan found himself saying things he hadn't said aloud in years about the struggles of raising a child alone, about losing his wife 2 years ago, about the guilt that never left him. Olivia listened as if every word mattered. And Ethan, in turn, saw beneath her polished billionaire image. He sensed her fear of letting her parents down. Her voice trembled at the edges even when she tried to sound in control. It was an unlikely connection, but it was real. And then, out of nowhere, Olivia asked a question that would change both their lives. She needed a boyfriend to meet her parents. This week. Someone respectable. Someone believable. Someone who wouldn't expose her panic. Ethan almost laughed. He was a single dad living paycheck to paycheck. Not exactly the man who could pretend to belong in a billionaire's world. But Olivia practically begged, still with dignity, but with an honesty that shook him. She offered to pay him, to help him and his daughter, to give him the stability he desperately needed. It wasn't pity. It was a business arrangement mixed with something softer, something unspoken. Though he hesitated, Ethan couldn't ignore Lily's needs. He said yes, but with one rule. He wasn't sleeping on any fancy sofa in some mansion. If he was supposed to act like her boyfriend, then he needed to be treated like a human being, not a prop. Olivia looked surprised at his boldness, but she didn't argue. Something about his stubbornness made her trust him even more. 2 days later, he and Lily walked into Olivia's penthouse. The girl's eyes widened at the giant marble walls, the sparkling city view, the soft white carpets that looked too perfect to step on. Ethan felt just as out of place, but Olivia greeted them warmly, kneeling to Lily's level and gifting her a small plush bear that made the child beam. There was no arrogance, no distance, just a woman trying her best. Olivia prepared a guest room for Lily, decorated with gentle colors and fairy lights she had rushed to install the night before. Ethan noticed the effort, and for a moment, his heart ached. No one had been this considerate toward him or his daughter in a long time. Meanwhile, Ethan's room wasn't a room. It was the master bedroom, spacious, elegant, and almost intimidating. When Olivia let him inside, he stared at her like she was joking, but she simply repeated his own rule back to him. No sofas, she said softly. Living together for a week was supposed to be a simple arrangement, two adults pretending for the sake of appearances, but reality had other plans. Ethan wasn't used to luxury or the strange quiet of wealth. Olivia, on the other hand, wasn't used to someone who saw her as anything other than a billionaire. Every morning, he brewed coffee for both of them, and Olivia found herself waiting for that warmth more than she should have. In return, she helped Lily with her reading, sitting cross-legged on the floor like the child's long-lost aunt. Small things began to shift. The house felt less cold, the nights less lonely, but the looming visit to Olivia's parents hung over them like a storm cloud. The day they left for the Graves estate, a stunning vineyard in upstate New York, Ethan felt the weight of the charade. He didn't belong there, and he feared embarrassing Olivia, but she squeezed his hand before they stepped out of the car, grounding him in a way he didn't expect. Her touch lingered a second too long. When they entered the mansion, Olivia's mother instantly adored Ethan. Her father, however, was more skeptical. He saw right through people, and he felt something curious: Ethan's sincerity. Not his clothes, not his background, but his heart. Throughout dinner, Ethan spoke with honesty, but enough restraint to maintain the story. Olivia watched him, realizing she wasn't pretending anymore. The way he looked at her, the way she felt safer beside him than she ever had with anyone. Something real was blooming where the lie had been. But no fairy tale lasts without a shadow. Olivia's ex-polished, arrogant, wealthy showed up unexpectedly. He made subtle comments meant to cut Ethan down, ridiculing his working-class roots. Ethan clenched his jaw but stayed respectful. Olivia, however, broke. She defended Ethan with a ferocity that stunned everyone, declaring that she didn't care about status or pedigree, something she had never admitted before. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Ethan stepped outside to breathe. He didn't want to ruin her life. She deserved someone who truly belonged in her world. But Olivia followed him. She stood close, her breath catching as she confessed the truth that Ethan was the first man she'd felt truly safe with. That Lily felt like the missing piece she never knew her life needed. That she wasn't pretending anymore, and didn't want him to either. Ethan's heart hammered. He wanted her too, but love terrified him. Losing once had shattered him. Losing again might destroy him. Still, Olivia reached for his hand. And the moment their fingers intertwined, something inside Ethan shifted. Hope, fragile but bright, began to take shape. The next morning, Olivia's father approached Ethan privately. Instead of anger, he offered quiet respect. He told Ethan that love rarely follows the rules of wealth or status. He had seen the way Olivia looked at him, that rare softness. And if Ethan ever hurt her, he'd answer for it. But if he truly cared for her, then he had the family's blessing. The drive home felt lighter, but Ethan still carried doubts, until Lily fell asleep in Olivia's arms. Until Olivia whispered that she didn't want this arrangement to end, that she didn't want Ethan to leave the master bedroom, that she didn't want this to be temporary, and Ethan, heart pounding with fear and longing, finally told her he didn't want to sleep on the sofa, not metaphorically, not literally, not ever again. He wanted a real family with her. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like, comment, and share. Your support means everything, and helps us keep creating emotional stories for amazing viewers like you. Before the story ends, we have a special request. Comment below what you believe was the most emotional moment of the story. Months passed. Ethan and Olivia built a life intertwined with struggle and tenderness. He didn't become rich, and she didn't become ordinary, but together, they became enough. More than enough. Lily called Olivia Mom one morning without thinking, and Olivia cried for an hour. Ethan finally slept peacefully at night, knowing he wasn't alone anymore. Their worlds didn't just collide, they healed each other. Sometimes love arrives disguised as a lie, wrapped in fear, born from desperation. But if you let it, it becomes the truth that saves you. And that's exactly what happened the day a billionaire said she needed a boyfriend, and a single dad replied he wasn't sleeping on any sofa ever again.